How's it going, everybody? Marl the Cross 316 back with another Amazing Spider-Man review. This is a comic book flashback, and we are now looking at Amazing Spider-Man issue number 9. This issue came out in February of 1964, and we're going to be introduced to a brand new villain, a classic villain in the Spider-Man universe, and that is Electro. This man right here, he makes his very first appearance in this issue. And as I read this issue, I really did enjoy this issue. We look at the artwork real quick. The cover, a very classic cover here. I love the color scheme on this. We had the reds and blues and the yellows and greens. Awesome color schemes here on this cover. Steve Ditko did a fantastic job drawing the cover for this. So let's get started with the storyline. The title of the story, we have The Man Called Electro, and of course we cannot leave out the people that contributed to this issue. We have Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Art Simek. Stan Lee, of course, being the writer, Steve Ditko being the illustrator, and Art Simek being the one on the letter page. Now let's look at the story, and what we need to really focus on for this story is that Aunt May is sick. Aunt May is sick. That's one of the main key elements in this story. Spider-Man swooping by these policemen, even though a shootout is going on. Spider-Man, as we know, is Peter Parker, and Peter Parker lives with his aunt, and this aunt is Aunt May right here. And Aunt May has come down with an illness. Now, this issue does not go into detail as to what the illness really is. We're not really certain what happened to Aunt May, if she has a cold, a flu, but we know for certain that she is very ill, and Peter Parker loves Aunt May. Aunt May is a mother figure to him. He was raised by Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and Aunt May is the only living relative he has left. Now we also are introduced to this villain right here. We have the Electro right here. And Electro, we learn, he has some unique powers. He's powered up through these electronic, I would say, inverters here. And these are being placed within his home. So the Electro has his own little hideout here where he powers up himself so that he can go out and commit some crimes. So we see right here some of the powers that he can do. He can power up himself and cause electric bolts to come out of his fingertips, and anything that is metal will strike with electricity. And so Electro is very, very unique when it comes to the powers that he has, and it almost makes him unstoppable. So we learned that Aunt May's condition has gotten worse and that she needs to go to the hospital. So that's also very, very important here. So Aunt May, whatever she has, it's very important that she has to go to the hospital so that she can have a procedure done, some surgery done to heal her illness. And because of this setback, Peter Parker is giving everybody the cold shoulder. We have Liz Allen and Flash Thompson and some of the other people in his class at high school, and Peter Parker just does not give them the time of day because he knows that there are more very important things that need to be addressed here, things that are on his mind. And so that just goes to show how much Peter Parker loves his aunt, that's all he thinks about. He's worried about Aunt May's health, and he wants the best for Aunt May. Now, another thing we need to keep in mind here is that this issue touches a lot on Betty Brant and Peter Parker's relationship. As we have seen in the past issues, Peter Parker and Betty Brant have been festering this relationship. And first it started as a friendship, it started as just them working together at the Daily Bugle, but over time we have seen that both of them have started to like each other. Some of them have been showing interest towards each other, and this issue definitely shows that here. And so Betty Brant, as you know, it shows right here that she really does care for Peter Parker. She's fascinated by him because he's an enigma. He's a mystery. He keeps things to himself. He never really gives away a lot of himself, a lot of details about his life. And whenever you have something like that, where a man is a mystery, that is very attractive to the opposite sex, especially to females. Females love mystery. Females love not knowing everything about a person. So I love how Stan Lee added that to the story because that is so true. And so again, we see Peter Parker he's so worried about Aunt May, and he can't even study. It shows in this panel right here, he can't even study for his midterms because he's worried about Aunt May's health. So here's some little things about Electro. He's a thief. He wants to rob banks. He wants to acquire as much wealth as possible. He's just money hungry. He's power hungry. He loves the power that he has, much like the other villains that we've seen. Also, some of the powers that he can do, some of the abilities he can do. He can scale walls with his electricity, so that's very unique there. He can actually climb walls with the electric bolts. And also, what we need to understand is that because J. Jonah Jameson has a vendetta over Spider-Man, he can't stand Spider-Man. He accuses Spider-Man for being Electro. So he puts in his paper that Electro and Spider-Man are one and the same. And this causes everybody to have different opinions. Some agree, some don't. And of course, Peter Parker learns about this as well. And he's furious because not only does he have to worry about his aunt's health, but now Spider-Man's name is being slandered in the newspaper once again by J. Jonah Jameson. So there's two things that Peter Parker has to worry about. And so J. Jonah Jameson says, look, I'll give you $1,000 because the procedure costs $1,000. Peter Parker has to get this money. And so he finds an idea that, hey, I'll just capture the Electro, get my money from J. Jonah Jameson or the police because the police put out a warrant for his arrest. And then I'll have enough money to pay for Aunt May's procedure, for Aunt May's surgery. And so Spider-Man tracks down the Electro, and here we have it right here, the first battle between Electro and Spider-Man right here. And Spider-Man, of course, does not know a lot about Electro, so Electro wins the first round of this battle by causing a lot of electric volts to course through Electro's body. It knocks out Spider-Man, but it does not kill Spider-Man as Electro suspects. And of course, Peter Parker he's anxious to find how he can capture the Electro and get enough money to pay for Aunt May's surgery. So what he does is he's going to have to go back and battle the Electro, but this time he lies about his battle with the Electro by saying, look, here's some photographic proofs here that Spider-Man is Electro. Here we have one photo where he's as Spider-Man, one as Electro, just so that he can get the money. So that's what he does. He gets the money right there so he can pay for Aunt May's surgery. He doesn't like it one bit because he's doing it over false pretenses, but he's doing what he has to do. Now here's a little backstory for the Electro here. We find out that his real name is Max Dillon. He is an electrician, and he is very, I would say, a jerk in a way. So one day he's on, doing the electricity, working on the cables here, and there's a lightning storm, and this lightning bolt strikes Max Dillon while he's working up there, and instead of killing him, it gives him this electrical power. So somehow fate had it where he's going to gain these powers, and that's usually how these stories end up. Is something unique happens, something supernatural, and that's exactly what happens here. So that's pretty much a brief summary of Electro's origin there. So Electro decides I'm going to break out these prisoners so that I can have my own little gang to help me do my bidding, because Electro, he wants to have his own little, I guess, crime organization. Peter Parker stays for Aunt May's operation, and here we have it, that the operation is successful. And Betty Brant, of course, it shows right here how much she does care about Peter Parker. She stays by Peter Parker's side during Aunt May's procedure. That shows a lot of interest right there for Peter Parker. And Spider-Man comes back on the scene after knowing Aunt May's safe. Jonah Jameson learns that Spider-Man and Electro are not the same person, so he's furious about this. And knowing that, Spider-Man has this scientific brain. Remember, he is a science major. Peter Parker is a science major, so he knows that he needs to use rubber gloves and rubber shoes to fight the Electro, because rubber and electricity do not go well together. It cancels things out. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man, whichever way you like it, fights off Electro's gang. And just some great artwork here. Look at all this great artwork here. And this is how Spider-Man fights off the Electro and wins. He uses a water hose. A water hose is used to fight off Electro, and it knocks Electro out. So that's how you defeat the Electro. Use a water hose. Some awesome stuff here. Spider-Man takes off Electro's mask. He does not know who Electro is, but the police will find out that it is Max Dillon. And Electro, we can use the inference here that he's going to prison. So Electro goes to prison after this fight. And of course, Peter Parker brings back pictures, and J. Jonah Jameson uses those pictures and puts out another extra in the papers. Betty Brant is mad at Peter Parker because she told Peter Parker that she does not want him to go out because it's dangerous. His job is dangerous. She cares about him, and she knows somebody else that reminds her of Peter Parker. She doesn't want the same fate that she knew for him, for Peter Parker. And this person that Betty Brant mentions, we do not know who she's talking about. And so that's a good cliffhanger for us as readers. Peter Parker's kind of mad at himself for realizing that he walked out on Betty Brant, and he was mad at her because he felt like he wasn't good enough for her. But of course, the love that Betty Brant has for Peter Parker, she comes back, and we end at this panel right here where it shows that they don't have enough words to express their feelings towards each other, but we know that the emotion of love is being expressed here. They are falling in love with each other. So great ending that Stan Lee adds to the story. Again, great story here, a great introduction to a classic villain with Electro. Let me know what you think about this issue. If you have not subscribed, comment down below and like this video, and I will see you in the next review.